I want to get this on film. We were going to do it without an audience. I just wanted this conversation to happen so we could get it on film. And then we thought, well, you know, we're here at the gallery, that maybe there's a lot of other people that would like to hear this, because you are looking at a living icon. I mean, Harold knew back in the early, well, in the 50s, when Harold got to New York, I mean, he was part of that group, Warhol, Rauschenberg, Pollock, all these guys, who he knew personally. And Harold was actually dubbed as the golden child. He was the one that was singled out to become the best of all of them, which he was. But the history that he knows about these people, you would never hear from anybody else because they weren't there.
I went over to Harold's house and told him that I was going to New York and that I was going to the Art Students League, and he said, well, if you must, well, then you need to know the right people. And he just reached over and picks up the telephone and calls Andy Warhol and said, Andy, this boy is coming to New York, and I want you to meet him, and I want you to be nice to him. And so Andy, he was hauling around on the other end, which I didn't tell you this, but after that first meeting with Harold, when I was a little boy, well, the next time I saw him, I was rodeoing at the time. I used to ride bulls and bareback horses, and when Harold came in, he loved the rodeos, and he'd always go to the rodeo.
That's true.
He approached me and asked me if I would pose for him for a series of paintings that he was going to do on Alexander the Great. And I said, sure, you know. And so I spent that summer out there, and that's when I decided that that's what I want to do. I want to be an artist, because I've watched, you know, this whole thing take place, and still, I can't walk into a studio and smell turpentine. I go right back to that time. And
you're oversimplifying the story. To begin with, I was a big friend of his mother, and then many years later, when my father was still living, he called me and said, come downtown. There's somebody I want you to meet. And so I went, and I met this man who was, I still remember, I think he was the best looking man I ever met. And all this took place very quickly. And then I said to my daddy, I said, well, who the hell is that man? And he says, oh, I thought you would realize that's Robert Poteet's father. And he was, I think he was the best looking man I ever saw.
I want you to tell, you know, Harold has, it's probably destined to be the most famous painting in America that's in the Guggenheim Museum. And it's called The New Adam. The New Adam was painted in 1962.
I think so.
1962. And the model for it was, some of you will remember him, the model was Sal Mineo, the actor. Now you tell me about the show that was scheduled to be held at the Guggenheim, and why you didn't participate in that at the time.
Well, it gets a little thick and complicated because Sal Mineo was a very small person. But darn, if you're going to do a painting of someone and it's 40 some odd feet long and 9 feet high, you have to start with someone who is small enough to be projected into that scale. I mean, you cannot project a person who is 6'6" tall into a painting that large. I mean, it doesn't work. And it's a frontal nude. And this painting is on permanent display. It belongs to the Guggenheim Museum. And I don't want to shock anybody, but
No, say it.
you know, the Guggenheim Museum is about the most Jewish thing you can imagine. And Sal Mineo was the least Jewish person in the world.
He wasn't circumcised.
He wasn't circumcised. And so I made sure that this was prominent in the painting.
Let me lay a little premise here.
Right.
I think it was in '62. The Guggenheim had decided to have a show of all the young Turks, young guns of art in America. And Harold at the time was the golden child. He was actually the one that was picked to be more talented than any of them. And so they decided to have this show at the Guggenheim, which was you, Warhol, Pollock,
Yes.
everybody. All of that during that time. And the painting that you submitted was the New Adam, which
Yes.
they didn't like.
No, well, it's 40 some odd feet long and 8 or 9 feet high, and it's an unusual painting. And
But the ironic thing is that the very painting that they didn't want because of what it was, now they own.
yes.
Tell me about El Cordobés.
Well, El Cordobés was the biggest living star of the period.
At the time, he was the first athlete, or anybody in sports. He was the bullfighter in Spain, and he was the first athlete to ever make $1 million a year. That's who he was.
I don't think I ever knew that, but he was tighter than Dick's hat man. You couldn't get 5 cents out of him for anything.
Keep you on track a little bit.
All right.
El Cordobés, what happened was that Harold ended up doing a portrait of El Cordobés that it was 40 feet tall,
Something like that.
and they hung it on the Eiffel Tower, and it stopped traffic in Paris. They had to take it down because the traffic wouldn't move.
That's really true.
Yeah, it's true.
And
And I'd seen photographs of when you were his guest at a bullfight, and he had killed the bull, and he had, I guess traditionally, to the guest of honor, you present the tail and the ears and everything. And this famous photograph of El Cordobés reaching up, handing Harold
the tail.
yeah. He said, "Well, you want to know about Jackson Pollock? I'll tell you about Jackson Pollock." and he said, you were at a party one night where you were there, Jackson Pollock was there, Max Ernst was there, and
probably Peggy Guggenheim.
Probably Peggy Guggenheim, and if my memory is correct, Pollock, this is what you don't know. Pollock and Max Ernst were both lovers of Peggy Guggenheim. So there was a little friction, and
with several dozen other lovers.
But I think that you had told me that Max Ernst told Pollock, because Pollock was, I've seen his early works. I didn't think he could paint at all. And I don't know what you think. What do you think?
Well, it doesn't have anything to do with painting. It has to do with something that someone could latch onto to make him famous.
Like Peggy Guggenheim?
Yes, Peggy Guggenheim. Well, she helped a lot.
Well, she strategically placed his paintings in museums.
Yes.
And Max Ernst paintings. But if the story, if I'm not just imagining this, I think you told me that Max Ernst told Pollock he'd be better off if he just laid those damn paintings down on the floor and threw paint on them.
Yes.
And Pollock said, well, by God, I will, and he did. So.
Yes, that is a true story,
Yeah.
And I witnessed it. And then,
Yep.
of course, the next thing I knew, I had to tell it to this one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've had some great times.
Do you see how quickly gossip becomes legend? I was young, but it was also a different period of history, you know. If you wanted to do something, you just had to go do it, which is not the case anymore. I mean, it's very hard to do what you want to do.
Yeah. I wanted this to be recorded because some of the things you just heard tonight, you will never read it anywhere.
That's true.
It's not written, and you're actually speaking with someone who was there during this very important time in American art, and I was just fortunate enough to be born in the same town he was. Because if it hadn't been for him, I would have never become an artist. I can tell you, I would have never.
That is probably a true statement.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But spending those summers modeling for Harold, every day you were painting, and I was learning the whole philosophy of art and what it was like out in the world, and it was very good training for a young boy like me.
Yes, I think it was. I didn't think about it at the time, but...
No, I know you didn't. Anyway.
I'm from Oklahoma City. Oh, really? Yes. That's where I was born and raised. And I was talking to you about art.